Hello friends, not only is it a new year, but it's also a new decade. So welcome to a brand new year with a brand new bullet journal. I wanted to take a bit of time to talk about my decision on switching my book. As you all know, I like to watercolor and my pages are a little bit on the thinner side, so ghosting is kind of a real issue. And then using stamps was nearly impossible unless I stamped it on other paper first, because it just went straight through the pages. They're just too thin. And I didn't want my book to be overly bulky just by adding a bunch of paper, like watercolor paper or paper that I've stamped on, because I didn't want it to be really fat. I think not being able to use my stamps was probably the biggest letdown of all, because I have a lot of stamps and I'd really like to use them. I was actually looking to change my book last year, and I heard lots of good things about the Archer and Olive books because they were really thick and the paper was really white and you could pretty much use any medium you wanted to. But I was a little late in the game ordering and they always were sold out, so I didn't really get to order them until about halfway through this year. And then when I got them, I didn't want to switch my book halfway through, so I figured I'd finish out the old book and then wait for this year to start with the new book. I ordered the blackout book and the regular white paper book, and now apparently they have one, it's the craft paper, so the brown paper. I'm kind of looking forward to trying that one out. Then I came across a whole other world with the Happy Planner disc system. So I do have one of their books and I really like it because this is where I keep my notes, that I can group my notes together, so you can take the pages out and move them around and group them together, which was really cool. And then I got to thinking I wanted to use this system but with my papers from the Archer and Olive books. Since I already bought them, I didn't really want to give up on them, but I really wanted to use their paper. So I took one of the books and I cut out one of the pages and then I punched it with the hole punch that fits these discs. And I was really surprised that I didn't lose too much of the overall page size. So I got to work scanning and copying and photoshopping and making templates with tabs. I even made my own cover page, as you will see. I think it was all worth it in the end because now I get to use my Archer and Olive books that I had purchased just to use for this year. I really could have cheated and used the Happy Planner covers, but I didn't want a too big of a book or a too small of a book, and there was no size in the middle. So this would be the closest one, but it's not quite the same. Well, this is why I created my own covers, because there really weren't any pre-made covers that would fit the Archer and Olive book pages, because technically I was making my own Happy Planner just using my own pages. I don't think anybody else is going to have the exact same journal unless they go through the same steps and make it the same way that I did. If you're interested in seeing how I made my book, just let me know in the comments below and I'll look into making that video. Now I gotta tell you, I was a little hesitant cutting all the pages out of the Archer and Olive book because I didn't know if I was truly gonna like it until I had put it together, and I didn't want to regret my decision and then have to go back and buy another book just to replace the one that I just butchered. But it all worked out and I'm really glad that I did. And now I can cut my own paper. So if I wanted to add watercolor paper, I just cut it to the size, punch the holes, and in it goes. So I'm actually really excited to start using watercolor for real, on real paper, because I can just add them wherever I want. So with all that rambling aside, let's get to the video. First, I tried to make a fun cover that would keep me inspired throughout the year. Nothing can dim the light that shines from within. I love the color shift. It's super pretty. Also, stars. The inside cover is a dark blue holographic vinyl. I won't be writing directly in the book since it doesn't actually have too many pages in it and the discs would be challenging, but you can take the paper out. That's just the best. No lumpy parts from pages before. I already know I'm going to love this book. So as I said before, I cut out some black and white pages out of my Archer and Olive books. This first page is usually the first page in any bullet journal, the index. I don't know if I personally will be using it this year, since adding pages can mess up the numbering system, but I figured I'd leave it in for if anyone wanted to copy my idea. I'm also using these typewriter clickable stamps. That's right, stamps directly on the paper. So excited. I used these last month in my December setup and love them so much. They are super easy to use. Just connect all the letters to make your word. Easy to keep the letters lined up. I separated this page kind of in half. I found last year I still needed to add a small piece of paper to finish the index for the whole book. Then all you do is write the page number in the small column and the name of the page in the bigger one. I repeated this for the second side. Now on to the actual 2020 title page. I had this vision in my head of overlapping the numbers and filling in the spaces where they overlapped. The pencil lines were really hard to pick up on the black paper because the only angle that I could see them was right where the camera was. So yes, I hit my head a few times on the camera. Don't worry, I got a tough skull. I'll be fine. So for the outline, I used my thickest white jelly roll pen, but afterwards I went over it a second time to really thicken those edges. Oh, and yes, I also got to mention that I tried to draw these in the same typewriter font. I was also trying to go from one side to the other so I wouldn't smudge the white pen. I used a ruler to get super straight lines for the cross hatching. You can really see it come together when I went over it with the second direction. I actually really like how this turned out. I didn't want to spend $18 on a white stamp pad, so I improvised with white acrylic paint. I'm using my trusty ice cream bucket lid and a foam stamper. Then I just put a little paint on the lid and dabbed my foam stamper in it until it looked evenly coated. Then I just lightly dabbed it onto the stamps. I actually love that this opens up the stamping color abilities. I have lots of acrylic paint and I'll be using them with my stamps now. And the cleanup is easy too. Just wash under warm water or do like me, have those baby wipes handy. I thought new beginnings was a great saying for this year. Here I'm trying to stick my white page to my black page, and this tape runner thing and I have a love-hate relationship. I made sure to get in the tiny spaces between the punches. Then I just stick the two together, lining them up at the punched side. The corner curve of the black paper sticks out a little bit more than the white, so I just trimmed them off so they're flush. So as you can see, this is my year at a glance. This page was probably one of the most flipped back to pages because I'm always setting things up and checking the dates for the months. As long as I don't screw up this page, the rest should be fine. I colored in the top bar with my black Faber Castel brush pen. As with all my other hand-colored black pages from before, it's best to go over this twice to get the darkest color. Then I filled in the letters for the days of the week. Now for the tedious part of writing out all the numbers for all the months. We'll just skip ahead. Now I'm just adding a few lines above and below the letters for the week. Lastly, I'm using the white jelly roll on the black boxes to write all the months, just the short version. Then I'm just erasing all my pencil lines. For my future log, I really wanted to do tabbed pages. This black page is the cover page for this, and you can see me really struggling to catch the reflection of the pencil lines. One of my first lines, and I already messed up. The black brush pen works really good to cover that up. Still struggling to see the lines and not smudge the white pen while doing so. Let's just speed this up a little. I hate watching the struggles, brings back too many memories. Once again with a second thicker line. I do find that this makes all the difference, and it gives you a chance to straighten lines that weren't straight before. Then I touched up any smudges with the black brush pen. I added the stamped word log, which clearly didn't happen in frame. It turned out a little light, so I went over it with my white pen. Then on the tab side, I wrote future log. Lastly was to add that cross-hatching. I think this turned out really good. For the next 2 pages, I'm outlining 3 boxes per page, so 3 months per page. I had them all on one page last year, and that was actually all the space I needed. This year, I wanted more of a separation between the months. Last year's was much more open. I also decided to keep the title box for every month blank, with just a little pencil writing so I can decorate each month with the corresponding theme and colors. That leaves me with the fourth and final page, which I decided to try a goals page. I've never done one before, and this year I find myself wanting to do or complete certain things before the end of the year. So this will be a great place for me to see if I can achieve these goals. I sectioned it into 3 months, 6 months, and 1 year. My camera shut off while stamping the first page, but on the second page you can see that I used one of the stamp pieces turned around to make a space. I used this trick last month too. I will probably make it a check the box list. My next page had to be totally redesigned since not only am I switching books, but I'm also switching the page style. So I couldn't count all the squares to the center because I had to punch the pages. I used the closest square, which for my particular book setup is 24 by 38 squares or boxes. So the height stayed the same, but the width got shortened by 2 squares. 3 if you count that very center space in the seam. All in all, I'm very happy with the dimensions. I also switched up my style a little from last year by closing off the boxes. I find this actually makes it easier to figure out how many squares you need for everything. This was last year's. It's pretty close. On the very right side, I numbered how many sections there are. Inside the rectangles are the number of squares or boxes in that rectangle, and the bottom has all the numbers to 24. Then I repeated this for the back with all the vertical sections. I also made the short sheet for the smaller pages. I don't think I'll need this one too often, but it's always good to have just in case. Now for one of my more favorite spreads to look back on, my social media tracker. So as you probably saw, I used my Cricut to cut out those super adorable social media icons with black paper. The hard part was getting the sticky tape on the back of those small pieces. I could have just colored it in, but this seemed like too much fun to give up. So at the beginning of the month, I will write down all these numbers. I love seeing my small set of online family and friends grow. Not super fast, but that's okay, keeps you humble. I'd rather have a small loyal following and be able to respond to everyone's comments and questions. I love hearing ideas and suggestions from you. Here's to a great year. On the back of that page, I'm adding a video tracker. I know I've tried this a few times before and I just couldn't seem to keep up with any certain number of videos a month. So for this one, I'm just putting a running list and an upload date. I've actually pre-recorded quite a few crafts already. What kinds of things would you like to see me make? If you follow me on Instagram, you've probably seen a large variety of stuff. Let me know in the comments what kind of crafts you'd like me to show you how to make. Chances are I've already done it. Clearly there's the bullet journal videos, cakes and baking, nails, crafts, humor, painting. For this next page, I wanted to have a little fun with a quote. Before we get to the quote, I wanted to stamp my title on the front. I used this larger typewriter stamp set I had and used the white acrylic paint again. Using this smaller stamping block, I can only fit 3 letters. I'm still in the process of decluttering and downsizing all the stuff in my house. Eventually, I'll find everything. Funny, right? Then on the bottom, I number coded all the bills I usually pay every month. Even though by this point, medical has finally been eliminated here in BC. I will probably replace the section with other. Then for the fun quote. They say love is more important than money. Have you ever tried paying your bills with a hug? If only that were the case, I'd start hugging everyone. I decided to break the page up into 6 sections, so this will be 6 months on the front and 6 months on the back. I'm changing it up a little from before with more exact columns to fill in. Last year, I just squished everything in the tiny little boxes. I'm hoping this year will be a little neater. So my sections to fill in are the amount, when the bill is due, the amount I paid, check mark for when it's completed, and the bank reference number. I think these are the minimal things I'd like to keep track of. Then I numbered the sides to correspond to that first page. See? Space-savingly smart. Then I repeated that on the back page. I covered the tops of all the sections with black paper. Then I used my white gel pen to separate the boxes into two and write each month in each section. I'm really loving the black and white theme. I also used a black and white theme for last year's bullet journal. I'll link that video below if you'd like some more ideas on how to use black and white in your journal. This next page is super fast and easy. I stamped series watched. Haven't yet decided on the style I'd like to use, so I'm leaving this blank. Then on the other side, I'm stamping movies watched. Also leaving this page blank because I don't know how I want to list them yet. Maybe pictures again with a star rating. Next page is a smaller page again. I loved the addition of the top 5 songs from last year, and I'm doing this page again. 6 months per page, and I'm going to alternate the black boxes. But then I forgot that I should be outlining everything first. It's just easier this way. Do you write down your favorite songs every month? Then I wrote the months in the top sections and wrote with the opposite colors in each box and numbered them 1 to 5. Then I didn't like the top of the white box section and colored it in with my black brush pen. Yeah, that's better now. Then I finished writing in the rest of the numbers and the months. Next page is another small page. The quote at the top is, "Do not save what is left after spending, but spend what is left after saving." I think this quote is so true. But sometimes it's hard to do that. There's never a month that goes by where you don't get a surprise bill of some sort. Well, at least I don't feel that lucky. So the actual savings tracker is a bar graph. I have the amounts on the side ranging from $0 to $1,000. And at the bottom are all the months. At the end of each month, I will tally up how much I've managed to save and put a dot on the graph. On the back of that page, I'm adding another new page I've never had before, a need/want page. I know it's easy to just throw everything in the need section, but do you really need it? I think I will probably put a bunch of stuff in the want section, and if it turns out to become a necessity, then I'll draw an arrow to the other side. Also, I want to save this year, not spend. This is the last page for the setup, and it's my pain tracker. Last year I made a separate video on this, but called it my health and wellness tracker. I will also link that video below if you need a more in-depth tutorial on how I use my tracker. In the columns, I wrote the date, pain, rating from 1 to 10, time if it's important, and any description or notes worth writing down. I also printed out this picture of a body so I can label certain body parts that hurt often. Once again, I go into more detail in that separate video. Now the fun part, putting it all together. The pages just push right in. You have no idea how excited I was to start creating this book. I wasn't into finishing last year's journal at all, but way more into creating this one. And that's what your journal should be. It should be fun, not a chore. I felt like a kid that didn't get their homework done if I didn't fill in my book every day. I also think switching this up keeps things new and exciting. Yes, every month is usually exciting because you can create new mood trackers and drawings, but I gotta say, I'm loving this new system. I almost forgot the page I wanted to add at the beginning of this book. I have this cool tree stamp that has a bunch of animals in it and really wanted to use it. So I stamped "This book belongs to Amazing-Andrea" on it. There, perfect. I love how every part of this turned out, and it even incorporates a Dutch door style with the skinnier pages. Alright, a few words of encouragement while I flip through the pages. If you are just starting out, I know I've said this before, but a bullet journal should work for you, not you for it. You can add anything that is important to you. You might read a lot and want to keep track of that. Maybe you're a traveler. You could paste pictures and write about each trip. Maybe you just want to doodle on every blank inch of paper. Whatever you like, just remember a bullet journal can be very personal. You don't have to show it to the world. It doesn't have to be filled with beautiful artwork if that's not what you're into. Keep it simple and functional. If it doesn't help organize your thoughts, then don't use one. I could go on, but I think you get the picture. So let me ask you this. Are you ready for a new year and a new decade? I want to thank you all who stuck it out to the end. I know this was a really long one, but I felt like I actually had a lot to say, so thank you. If you recreate any of my spreads, please tag me on Instagram at Amazing-Andrea1. That's with underscores. I would love to see your recreations and also maybe start featuring them here every month. If you don't want to miss next month's setup, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. But, oh, no buts. I'm not going to talk about the old one. So last year I hate, because the dimensions of the pre-made books are all, stop blinking.